Did you know that gas prices are usually fake? That they are often set not by supply and demand, but by large oil monopolies that span the world and that are a mixture of autocratic governments and multinational investment banks. The number at the pump is not what your president's policies decide or by local politics, even though we would like to think we have that control, but by 190 countries that are being subjugated to the whims of a few. Oil prices are more a reflection of OPEC and a few multinationals like Chevron, whose own CEO admitted that there was tons of oil in supply and that we have no real shortage to justify these insane prices. The truth is, they sell oil futures, or roughly speaking, oil profits in advance, and 2020 was a big hit on those futures. So they are jacking up the prices to repay a tiny few of big investors. So the whole world is essentially being given a tax by unelected companies, not by oil suppliers necessarily, but by the banks and intergovernment agencies and alliances who own oil, the middlemen. Logically, we should actually be having big discounts right now in a free market, because oil produced during and before 2020 can easily sit in a barrel for 5 years at least on minimum. And for most countries, they were only closed or at lower demand from 2020 to early 2022. So we should be getting big discount prices on that oil that's used up half its life. But we don't live in a free market. We live in an oil oligarchy, globally and in America. Politicians on both the left and the right often lie. The left says it's because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine that has affected prices, or a Putin tax, which is a lie, just to protect the middlemen jacking up the prices to repay oil futures. The Republicans say it's Biden and his war against climate change, to which he has made very little progress, by the way, and axing things like the Keystone XL pipeline, which is responsible for prices being so high, which is again a lie to protect the middlemen, taxing Americans to repay investors through oil. They all know it, or at least the RNC and the DNC do, because they are both funded by big oil and the middlemen who are making this oil tax. The average American, however, believes that making oil locally and selling oil locally can be the answer to this problem. And they are right. Making more gas and oil in America is more environmentally friendly, can be produced at a higher standard and quality, and with fewer leaks and environmental disasters than producing it with cheap labor in a country we are bombing, then hauling it in leaky containers across oceans for months, then putting it on trucks at an exorbitant rate, and then being driven to local gas stations. The problem is Keystone XL doesn't help this at all. The whole point of it is to take American and Canadian oil all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico to be sold in Europe, Africa, South America, and Asia to the highest bidder. This just makes oil monopolies stronger as they control the prices that are artificially set by whatever they want. Making oil locally and selling a portion of it locally is the answer, not shipping it to Hong Kong at jacked up prices. The Republicans trying to sell you on this plan of Keystone are not trying to make gas prices cheaper. They are trying to make big oil happy by enriching foreign market trading. Can that lower gas prices as they claim? Well, kind of. Only if big oil feels that rigging the price to repay the corrupt politicians for loyalty so they can get reelected for a short time is worth it. But it is based on a whim of the middlemen, not strategic investment in America or its people. This is how they keep 190 countries in check. If you anger the middleman, then prices go up. If you make the middleman happy, then prices go down. for a little while at least, they can sustain a loss just to get the policies they want from the politicians they want. They are long-term bribes, not short-term bribes. Oil's been around long enough to make strategic investments in futures. But the good thing is, middlemen are not the only people giving money to big oil in big numbers. The American taxpayers are actually hugely subsidizing big oil for decades and is sold abroad for profit, and we never see that money back as taxpayers. Why don't we have it so that these subsidies require them to sell it locally at real prices, not fake international marketing prices, the highest bidder in the entire world, but the actual price it costs? That's why a lot of countries have cheaper oil right now than we do, because we have a bad deal. We've basically set up for multinationals and big oil alone and not the American people. Let's get the good deals and play the game to our advantage, the American taxpayers' advantage. Oil is expensive for the same reason as diamonds or printer ink. It's a monopoly.